By ways of introduction, my name is Kush Choksi, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Member Services in International and also the Senior Vice President for Middle East and Turkey. I am joined by two of my chamber colleagues, Steve Lutz, Vice President for Middle East and the head of the US-Egypt Business Council, and Anna Beres, who works on Middle Eastern affairs, specifically Egypt and also Iraq. The US Chamber, to those that may not be aware, has been home to the US-Egypt Business Council for more than 40 years. So for us, working with the government of Egypt and our friends and colleagues in the US government to ensure an impactful COP27 is a matter of building on a long-standing relationship. And it ensures we are able to engage the government of Egypt at the highest levels and meet with the decision makers when it comes to Egypt's low carbon and sustainable projects, new energy projects, and investments. In January, we in essence kicked off the road to COP27 by hosting a two-day hybrid event that featured US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, the Egyptian Prime Minister, the Egyptian Foreign Affairs Minister, who is also President Designate of COP27, and several other Egyptian and US officials. And perhaps most importantly, we had executives from a wide range of US companies speak about the technologies, solutions, and capabilities they can bring to bear on the climate challenge in Egypt and across the globe. In that forum, the CEO of the US Chamber of Commerce, Suzanne Clark, put it best. She said the innovations that will lead the energy transition will come from the private sector that has to design, develop, and implement the solutions that will help create a cleaner environment for the globe. And in that vein, our Green Tech Delegation next month is a further demonstration of the US Chamber's commitment to ensuring the private sector is not only at the table, but is actively part of the solution. During our visit in Cairo, we want participants to both hear directly from Egyptian leaders and their clean energy projects and priorities and provide you an opportunity to ask questions. We are grateful to be working closely with our friends and long-standing affiliate in Cairo, AmCham Egypt, and also their US affiliate AmCham Egypt Inc. And we are grateful to have their partnership to ensure the delegation's success. And we want to give you a platform to educate these Egyptian decision makers about the innovations and tangible solutions you can provide that align with Egypt's planned projects and investments. So if you're not registered for the delegation, I want to encourage you to join. I will now hand it over to Steve Lutz from the US Chamber and US Egypt Business Council to introduce our speakers from the DFC, USAID, EXIM, and USTDA, and moderate the discussion that will follow. Steve?
Well, thank you very much, Kush, and you set it up well, and we're to everybody who is signed up, thank you, and thank you for participating today and helping to prepare, for your visit with us to Cairo. And to those that aren't, as Kush said, we certainly encourage you to take a real strong look at this because it is a unique opportunity during a unique year in the bilateral relationship and what Egypt will be doing, in hosting COP27 for the globe. And this week, we're really excited. This preparatory webinar session is focusing, as Kush said, on the financing instruments of the U.S. government. So we have a great, as Anna was saying, an all-star lineup, I think, with us representing the U.S. International Development Financial Corporation, USAID, US EXIM Bank, and USTDA. And to kick things off, we're going to first hear from Jake Levine, the Chief Climate Officer at DFC, and then he'll be followed by the other speakers who will kind of take one by one as we go. So Jake, let me, if I may, first turn things to you, and I know you'll be joining us in Cairo, so we're excited about that. But let me turn the floor over to you if you could share a little bit about DFC, but then also specific to the climate portfolio and what you might expect on this Cairo trip.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve, so much. And thanks, Kush, and to the entire chamber team It's been really wonderful working with you over the last weeks to put this together. We're very excited to be joining. We see this as a critical opportunity for our work in Egypt and in the region and on the continent more broadly. And so it's just a pleasure to be here and meet with you all today. I want to maybe let me provide a couple of sort of framing remarks, and then I'll go into a bit of detail in terms of what DFC would like to be able to offer. I think that part of the purpose of this conversation is so that you all can get a bit more of a precise understanding of what it is that DFC does and how we can help support your businesses and your projects. I think the timing could not be more pertinent. I see Ambassador Thorne, I think, just popped up on the line, and I'd appreciated hello, Ambassador. His remarks last week when a similar group met to sort of just frame the stakes of what it is that we're doing. I had the chance to meet 2 days ago in Washington with Minister Rania Al-Mashat, who was in town doing a number of visits to sort of highlight Egypt's goals for the COP and its goals more broadly around private sector investment, some of the reforms that are happening in Egypt, and the way that Egypt sees this COP as strategic, not just for Egypt, but for North Africa and for sub-Saharan Africa. And I can tell you anecdotally that over the last couple of weeks with the World Bank meetings and the IMF meetings, it's clear that this COP is viewed by other countries throughout Africa as the African COP. And that is really important for us as well, for an agency that is focused on development in Africa, on the strategic importance of so many of our partners across the continent. The last sort of framing thing that I'll note is that in preparation for this trip, we have really sought to understand what it is that the Egyptian private sector would like to do and what the Egyptian government would like us to support and where sort of your priorities are. And I really want to underscore that because, we, DFC and so many others of the US government financing agencies have tremendous resources, but at the end of the day, we're only as good as the partners that we have on the ground and the applications that we receive for projects and for financing opportunities. And we really want to be aligned with your priorities and your efforts. I was very excited to hear about many of those, particularly in the clean energy space, utility scale renewables and energy storage, including in green hydrogen. I was really excited to learn of transportation decarbonization and electrification efforts that are now underway in Cairo and in Egypt writ large. And also in the world of water resilience, supply adaptation. Obviously, desalination is a key piece of that strategy and is something else that we would really like to support. So I'm going to at the risk of messing something up, I am going to try to share my screen for one moment, just to put up a slide that I think can be helpful in terms of highlighting a bit about who we are and what products we can offer. Can you guys see this?
We can, yes.
Okay, terrific. And I'm going to just take sort of cherry pick here from this presentation because I know we don't have endless amounts of time. And I'm just going to flip to this slide and get to the point in terms of what DFC offers. DFC is, you could think of DFC as essentially the US Development Bank. We had a predecessor agency with which many of you are probably familiar, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, and then a small agency inside of USAID called the Development Credit Authority. And those agencies had debt and insurance tools for providing private sector investment, financing, de-risking tools. And a few years ago, the US Congress legislated essentially that those agencies be put together and that their authority should be dramatically expanded, and sort of in the creation of a new agency called the Development Finance Corporation. So we are the newest federal agency on the scene. We've got an array of tools, which I've put up here on the screen. And some of the new financing mechanisms that we have that are really critical to what we're doing in climate are in the technical assistance side. So now, in addition to providing debt financing, we can also provide concessional grant financing in small amounts in ways that are designed to help the pre-development stage of a project. So in completing feasibility studies, technical studies, legal contracting, the various pieces of complex project development that oftentimes really are, what is make or break from a bankability perspective. And one of the reasons why we feel that this is such a powerful tool in the climate context is that while we know we've got this massive financing gap in emerging markets for climate, something on the order of $2 trillion a year that we need to fill, there is capital flowing in. You've got 130 trillion of net zero aligned institutions through the GFANs. There's DFC has billions of dollars available for financing itself. And yet the availability of capital is oftentimes not the constraint. It's really the availability of good projects that are investable. So I would love to explore ways for us to think about getting to know some of your projects through the technical assistance pathway that can help create a greater chance of success for financing. The other new authority that we have under the BUILD Act is to invest in equity. And we use our equity to be able to do direct investments in companies directly, and also to become minority LPs in investment funds. And we feel that this will be a really important point of leverage for DFC to be able to reach many projects through reputable general partners and managers and funds that we will invest in. And then, of course, we've got our debt financing and our political risk insurance. And importantly, within those tools, on the debt side, we can provide guarantees, we can do loan portfolio guarantees, we can do project finance. And these are really designed to de-risk investments to create a more appealing environment for private investment. And we're excited to explore possibilities for using these tools in Egypt. I think I'll just wrap up with one sort of note in terms of the scope of what we're looking to do on climate. We're essentially focused in three areas. One is to scale and diversify the types of projects that we're investing in. I think for a long time, people thought of DFI climate finance as limited to renewable energy. And renewable energy is really important. And to be clear, we are fully behind it. We want to support it. We want to look at opportunities to expand into storage and other innovative renewable energy technologies. But we also recognize that climate investing contemplates the transportation sector. It's about buildings. It's about nature-based solutions. It's about water. It's about industry and hard-to-abate sectors like hydrogen, like cement, like steel, and so on. And so we're building a diverse portfolio around that. The second goal is to not just focus on individual projects, but to really mobilize capital from the private sector to come in alongside us. And this goes to what I was talking about a moment ago in terms of some of our tools for de-risking. And then finally, an area that has not gotten nearly enough attention or investment is adaptation. And we are very focused on developing bankable models for revenue generation, for investing, that can support investments in adaptation. This is an area that President Biden has committed to tripling public finance around. It's one where DFC has dedicated tremendous resources over the last year. And I'm very eager to identify projects that can help advance that part of our mission. So with that, Steve, I will stop sharing and hand the mic back to you. And I appreciate the chance to be here, and am really excited about coming to Cairo in a few weeks and meeting so many of you in person. Thank you so much.
Well, Jake, thank you for that overview. That's incredibly helpful in walking us through both the range of instruments and then those areas of focus when it comes to the climate portfolio and the expanded view of that in implementation on that. I would ask if possible, if those slides are ready for prime time, because I know companies are going to ask if we could get that from you. We would love to be able to circulate that with everybody. I think just the two that you showed, but the others as well. So thank you. And we're going to ask everybody, please think about your questions, but save those questions. We want to get through, I think, all of our speakers, and then we'll come to questions. Next, I want to turn to Dan Tobin, Managing Director, Structured and Project Finance for Power and Environmental Exports Division there at EXIM Bank. And Dan, thank you. You know, EXIM's been a fixture of the private sector effort for a long time, so we appreciate your participation today and look forward to hearing from you about the role that EXIM can play, not only on the GreenTech delegation, but more broadly with respect to the long-term trajectory in Egypt and in the African continent when it comes to this climate challenge. So Dan, with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Just want to make sure everyone can see my screen and PowerPoint.
Yes. Sure.
Wonderful. Okay, well, it's a pleasure to be here this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are today. My name is Dan Tobin, Managing Director of the Power Group. Our group is situated within the Structured and Project Finance Division in the Office of Board Authorized Finance at EXIM Bank. And our group and our bank focuses primarily on financing large energy infrastructure projects. We also do projects in the satellite arena and in the commodity space as well. So just to give you a little background, apparently it's, oh, there we go. Just to give you a little background, EXIM Bank is the official export credit agency of the United States. As you know, most countries have their own export credit agencies. We're the ones here in the United States that offer financing for our U.S. manufacturers and exporters of services to projects overseas. One of our main tools that we are able to offer to project developers are direct loans, loan guarantees, export credit insurance, and working capital and supply chain guarantees. My group focuses primarily in the senior loans, senior direct loans, and loan guarantees. So we can offer, various type of entities, work with U.S. exporters, commercial banks, foreign buyers. We have sovereign customers, corporate, and we do a lot of limited recourse project finance as well. So our program is very focused right now on clean tech, and this is a very exciting opportunity for us to join this Egyptian delegation. We, under the new administration, have been very, very much focused on trying to invest a good chunk of our authority into new renewable energy and environmentally beneficial technologies. We have multiple programs that are very helpful in helping us achieve some of our goals. One of them is called the Environmental Exports Program. Another program we have is called the China and Transformational Exports Program. And just recently, we have what's called the Make More in America initiative. So just to give you a little idea of what we do, we are a bank and we provide debt financing, loan guarantees, and we provide very attractive fixed rate direct loans to project developers. Foreign buyers are able to get the most attractive rates. Right now, the long-term 18-year interest rate right now is just around 3%. So very attractive rates on infrastructure deals. We do export credit insurance, and we also do working capital guarantees. Dan,
you just went mute.
Can you hear me now?
We have you back. Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. we have, let me just go back into the slides. We can do environmentally beneficial exports. We do renewable energy. So we're looking at wind, solar, hydropower, geothermal, energy efficiency, electric vehicles, hydrogen, clean green hydrogen projects. We're doing nuclear. So we're hitting all different types of technology sectors to help facilitate a climate transition and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We have very attractive terms for projects that are able to offer this. We can give up to 18-year repayment terms. We can capitalize interest during construction, and all projects in the Environmental Exports Program qualify for 30% local cost financing. The other program that we have that's very attractive right now is called the China and Transformational Exports Program, and this program is designed to help the United States compete one-on-one with China, and also to try to help facilitate the deployment of transformational exports, which are a distinct group of technologies, which include renewable energy, energy storage, and energy efficiency. With this program, we're able to match the best offers that are provided by China that are, looking at competition for similar projects. We're able to offer terms that otherwise may not necessarily be available through our standard programs. So it does provide us flexibility and potential enhancements to help the exporter and the exporter ultimately win the deal. And we certainly have been using this on a very regular basis over the past year as this program has been implemented, and we're finding it to be a very useful tool for exporters. I won't get into all of the details and get into all of that, but I do want to kind of give you a little overview in terms of a new initiative that was just announced earlier this month. It's called Make More in America Initiative. And as of April 14th, EXIM can now offer its financing for domestic projects. So our focus right now is to help reshore supply chains. Our standard content policy requires, that there be either 51 or 85% US content requirement. Not with this program. You just have to have 15%. Just a sec. It froze up. 15% export nexus, and that's it. More flexibility in structure, repayment terms, and every 5.3 jobs that are created will be eligible for up to $1 million in support. So we're hoping that this can help, kickstart some of the domestic manufacturing that has kind of moved offshore over the past few years. We want to be able to provide financing, and those projects that are built, either whether they be solar manufacturing facilities or wind turbine manufacturing facilities or, geothermal type manufacturing facilities, those can be then, manufactured in the United States, financed by EXIM Bank, and then the products exported overseas for projects to be deployed overseas. So a very new program. We're talking 2 weeks old, brand new, and we're very excited about it. And anyways, just to give you a quick, kind of summary of what we want to do, we're very focused on renewable energy. We're very focused on energy storage. We want to do more clean tech deals. We have the staff in-house to kind of help facilitate the due diligence of these complex deals. And as Jake said, over at DFC, there's no shortage in capital for these projects. What we're really looking for are bankable deals, and those are deals that have the contractual frameworks that allow for a structured finance or a project finance that shows a reasonable assurance of repayment. So we'd be happy to work with sponsors. We work with sponsors all the time, but if there are ideas or folks that you're aware of, please let us know. With respect to Egypt, we're already aware of multiple opportunities, and we're very excited and hope to be able to finance 1 or 2 or 3 projects in this space. But please, feel free to reach out to us and let's connect, and we can talk a little bit more about what EXIM Bank has to offer. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thanks for walking us through all that. And like Jake, I'll say in advance, if we can get your slides, I know they'll be in demand. So we would appreciate that. But thank you for taking folks through that.
Absolutely.
Next, thank you. And I understand joining by phone, we have Leslie Reed, Mission Director for Egypt at USAID. And then Leslie will be followed by a stranger to none from the U.S. Egypt Business Council, Carl Kress, who, as we were talking beforehand, has been with us on many delegations before. Leslie, are you on with us? I just want to confirm that before turning it over to you. Leslie, if you're on, we're not hearing you. Well, why don't we do this as we try to figure out if we have Leslie. Let me, Carl, pivot to you. Carl, I was going to say that you're batting cleanup, that you're the Juan Soto of, our speakers today for those baseball fans, but you're in the 3 slot. So we'll see if we have Leslie and she'll be batting cleanup. But Carl, always good to see you, Regional Director and Worldwide Energy Sector Team Leader at USTDA. And we'd love to hear, Carl, about, not only some of the past activities that you've done with us, but also forward-looking, where you see USTDA playing a role, not only on the delegation, but in this COP27 climate effort.
Great. Thank you, Steve. And really, thanks,
Carl,
Kush.
with that, turning the floor over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Loud and clear.
Yes,
Okay.
we can
All
hear.
right.
So, Carl, if I can interject, we're having a tough time with your audio.
Okay. Let me see if I can. You know what? Let me do this.
Actually, you're much better. Anna, can you jump in? It might be my connection. So
We're all
please,
set.
somebody,
Yep, I think
Anna,
it's just
how's Carl?
a Teams issue for today, but Carla, we can hear you well. Please proceed.
All right. So can you see me? Can you hear and see me?
We can hear you
Sorry.
well.
We can hear you well, yes. Thank you.
Okay, but you cannot see me. Is that correct?
No.
Video stopped. Not sure what our problem here is. Camera on. There we are. Okay.
Excellent.
Sorry. In between devices here. Doesn't work. Try another one. So, I was trying to say Steve and Kush and Anna, thank you very much. Really looking forward to this, and also very much looking forward to Hisham and Sylvia's wonderful hospitality, to your whole team out there in Egypt. As was mentioned, I've been the regional director for Middle East, North Africa, Europe, and Eurasia for 17 years now, or 18 years. So I've been coming to Egypt for a long time. So really looking forward to this. I think most of you are familiar with USTDA, but in a nutshell, we're the international project planning arm of the U.S. government, focused on being able to help move projects from good idea stage to financing. We have 2 primary tools to do that. One is our project planning, which is technical assistance, feasibility studies, pilot projects, feed studies, and these things to move a project from good idea stage to getting them teed up for financing. For financing, we are very agnostic on that. Could be EXIM, could be DFC, could be Multilateral Development Bank, private financing or self-financing by a public or private sector entity in a given country. We like to know up front who a likely financier is going to be, because then we can gear our studies to that. But that's but we work across the board. So these then our other main sort of product line is getting people together with things like this trade mission we're going on. We do reverse trade missions where we bring delegations to the United States. This is a way, particularly was great for smaller businesses in the US. They don't have to travel to Egypt or wherever. They're able to, we are bringing the decision makers and purchasers and so on to the United States to meet with the companies that would be interested in providing what it is that they're looking to buy. We also do conferences, technical workshops, A number of years ago, we did MENA Power 2010, a big conference on power development throughout the Middle East and North Africa, which in partnership with the chamber out there. And so look forward to being able to do more of those down the road as we get back in gear here after COVID. And our overall mission is that we have a dual mandate, which is to support development in developed countries such as Egypt, and at the same time to promote the export of U.S. goods, services, and technologies. And so that's where we're trying to find that sweet spot right there. And this is where what's really critical for us is trade missions like this and working with all the companies that are coming out there, is because, as I think Jake said it really nicely, of that we're only as good as the proposals we receive. Is I can't generate a project out there. What I need to do is I need your intelligence. What are you seeing? What partners, public or private sector, are you working with, are you talking to, that where you see opportunity, where they're really interested in U.S. technology? Of course, we do our own business development. We go out, meet, we work with the chamber, we work with our embassy colleagues and so on. But really key for us is that we need to see that U.S. company interest. So what's real and what is the opportunity for you? So that's why, for me, coming out on this delegation is going to be great to be in the meetings with all of you, to hear your questions. And when we come out of that, for all of us to get together to be able to see what are the things that really rise to the top that we're able to work on. Our work in the last few years has been very oil and gas heavy. We've worked really closely with Ministry of Petroleum, with Minister El Molla, who looks like we'll be meeting with when we go out there. He's been a terrific partner. Obviously, in the new administration, there has been some different focus now on clean energy, emissions reduction, and so on and so forth. So we are refocusing in terms of the work that we're doing, but we're very excited to see that the ministry and also the Ministry of Electricity and so on are looking at renewable and emissions reduction type projects that we might be able to engage with. And so again, looking for what you see for those opportunities. And with respect to COP27, again, moving in that direction, we're looking at some projects that might be exciting for the Egyptians and supportive of U.S. industry to move there, as to be able to have some deliverables and some things as demonstration projects. And so really, this is a listening tour here. We're going to come out, we're going to listen, see what people are interested in, talk about our tools. Many of the entities that we're going to be meeting with there have worked with TDA before, so they're familiar with us, so that we'll be able to now try and drill down to what are the actual projects we could work on. So I think I'll leave it at that, and hopefully our fourth speaker the technology will work, and then happy to answer any questions. And again, really looking forward to seeing everybody on the trip.
Carl, thank you very much, and we do look forward to having you with us, and again, drawing on your longstanding expertise and experience with Egypt and the broader region. So we value that and appreciate that. And I do see we have Leslie Reed, Mission Director for Egypt at USAID, has joined. And Leslie, you're batting cleanup, and we'll turn it over to you. It's in your good hands, to share a little bit about USAID. Of course, we're doing all of this under the auspices of this upcoming GreenTech delegation that'll be visiting Cairo next month. Also with that viewpoint from extending beyond that as well. But let me, if I may, turn things over to you, and then we'll go to questions from our participants. Leslie, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks a lot, Stephen. Thanks for the patience as I've worked through the technology. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It really is a pleasure to be with you today. I'd like to thank the Chamber, of course, for inviting USAID to participate as we look forward to the next month's Green Technology Business Delegation. I'll talk a little bit about why USAID is so invested and interested in this, as well as what we're doing and what we hope to do. So, of course, climate change is the threat to the well-being of humanity, as well as to the future of our planet. And as we've heard Spec Carey say, if we don't act now, really the consequences are quite dire. Our response to climate change has got to involve the transformation of the private sector, economic development, and the financial tools that are necessary to make resilient net zero economy a reality. The Biden administration, of course, has reinvigorated the U.S. government's commitment to combating climate crises. In support of this vision, USAID just launched its new climate strategy last week. It emphasizes urgent priority actions as well as long-term systems change to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions and to build resilience to the effects of climate change. Bold and inclusive action on climate can lead to trillions of dollars in economic gain by unlocking new investment opportunities, which will also, of course, provide job growth and economic development. USAID's new climate strategy targets include mitigating 6 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, supporting the resilience of over 500 million people through adaptation efforts, and mobilizing $150 billion in public and private climate finance between now and 2030, so in just the next 8 years. To achieve this, USAID will be partnering with governments and leveraging private sector partnerships and finance, increasing access to multilateral funding, and collaborating with our implementing partners to support innovative climate finance instruments that increase financing in energy, natural climate solutions, and adaptation. USAID is also working with DFC and other private donors to build business models for underinvested sectors such as natural climate solutions and adaptation. Here in Egypt and of course around the world, USAID recognizes the potential of business to drive change. The private sector creates market-oriented solutions that have the scale and the long staying power that's needed to confront the country's opportunities and challenges, including those related to climate change. We believe that by pooling our resources and expertise, by co-designing programs, and convening actors from the public and private sector, our partnerships with local and international businesses can help us achieve the greater scale and the longer-term impact that is necessary. USAID is helping to build out the entrepreneurship ecosystem here in Egypt to create more jobs for Egyptians, particularly related to digitization. We're also supporting STEM education at the primary, vocational, and university levels. And to increase public sector effectiveness and accountability, USAID is supporting the government of Egypt to consult more with the private sector to ensure that their reforms are appropriately targeted and effectively implemented. Longer-term impact will require that governments effectively implement their climate change policy commitments. And to that end, USAID's economic governance activity stands ready to help the Ministry of Environment develop an implementation plan under the government's National Climate Change Strategy 2050. This underscores the importance of governance for sustainable economic development and climate resilience. Continuing on the topic of governance, USAID is also supporting Egypt's economic reforms through our macroeconomic stabilization and reform project, or what we call MESR. USAID's MESR project is helping the government of Egypt to prepare for COP27. We're also supporting the Ministry of Finance in analyzing the fiscal risks and potential for expanding into low carbon economic sectors, and also to assess pathways to attract private capital into climate friendly development. MESR is also helping the Ministry of Finance to improve its climate related tax policies, to integrate climate risks into macroeconomic forecasting, and to include climate change mitigation in their public investment projects. At the same time, I know I just heard a reference to Minister Rania Al-Mashat. The Ministry of International Cooperation is our primary interlocutor here in Egypt. And Minister Al-Mashat and the team are keenly interested in blended and alternative finance options. And this is an area that we are supporting the government of Egypt. We're also very interested in innovative financing vehicles that will remove impediments and stimulate a thriving business ecosystem. So on that note, I'd like to share something that may be of particular interest to folks on this call. USAID's MESR program is working with the government to hold a conference on alternative finance opportunities on May 23rd and the 24th. This hybrid virtual and in-person event will feature substantial Egyptian government participation, including opening remarks by the Ministry of Finance as well as the Ministry of Planning. The conference will spotlight finance options to turn billions of public money into hopefully trillions of total investment. A major topic of discussion will be innovations in public and private financing tools, including public-private partnerships, green bonds, blue bonds, sukuk, sustainable development goal bonds, debt swaps, and of course, Egypt's sovereign wealth fund. The conference will showcase public and private finance trends that can help Egypt to continue to make progress on its development path It will feature a wide variety of speakers and participants, including investors in public finance instruments, asset and portfolio managers, rating agencies, international donors, policymakers, and finance for development experts. If you'd like to learn more about the conference, we're providing information to the chamber and contact information for Rasha Hakim or Laura Gonzalez in our economic growth office. And so just to conclude, I want to underscore what we've heard our special envoy Kerry say, which is that this is the decisive decade for our planet and for our future. In support of the U.S. government's commitment to climate change and Egypt's green transformation, USAID is helping Egypt to adapt to climate change, mitigate its severity, and access finance to implement climate solutions. All of this will promote inclusive economic development for the benefit of all Egyptians, and we really are thrilled and look forward to working with you as partners in this fight.
Well, thank you, Leslie, for that overview, as well as some of the detail. It's always very helpful to understand all the things that are going on there, and so well as some of the overarching objectives. And to each speaker, we appreciate. I know Leslie, you succinctly said it, that you're looking to the private sector to drive change and also to have that staying power. And I know that in the private sector, we enjoy working with all of your organizations. Before we go broadly with questions, because we are really delighted to have with us Ambassador David Thorne from the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate's Office, who will be leading the delegation for the U.S. government with us. Ambassador, would love to turn to you. I see you have your hand up. Thank you for joining with us today. I don't know, would love to hear your thoughts on why this is important with the financing arms, or any other comments that you would like to make.
Am I on? Can people hear me?
Sure can.
And see me? Well, guys, listen, it's really interesting and great to hear you all and on the kinds of things that you're proposing, especially in this very, very critical financing area that is of particular interest, I know, to Egypt, but also for essential to green projects, both domestically and internationally. And it's, as you know, Spec Kerry and I have been always working to make emphasize the importance of the private sector in the green transition all over the world. We call on businesses together while we're talking to, and their important role in making the transition. And Egypt, of course, no exception, and especially that they're holding this COP, coming off a very successful COP in Glasgow. And I just also want to emphasize it really is, and they're identifying it as the Africa COP, but it really is the Africa COP. And by 2050, when we're all looking at that date, 1 person in 4 will live in Africa, and it is an incredibly important, location for us. And Egypt is the portal to think about opportunities that may exist there. I think that the other thing I wanted to say about Egypt is that Egypt's in a very interesting position. Not only have they made some very significant structural changes in their economy over the last 4 or 5 years, namely in getting off of subsidies, which was a very sort of erosive and weak way of that's oil and gas subsidies. They succeeded in getting off of that, which is a tribute to a number of very active and effective new ministers, and also a president, frankly, that has set his mind in projects that strengthen the Egyptian economy. And of course, they view this opportunity, this moment, and this COP as the ultimate opportunity to bring the attention of the world to Egypt and the opportunities unveiled in the COP and in Egypt, available there. The other thing is, of course, Ukraine. Ukraine is what's upset everybody, of course, and not in the least Egypt. Half their food comes from Ukraine and Russia and things like that. most of their tourists come from Ukraine and Russia. And so they're really scrambling right now to find opportunities. And the other thing is the government is really pushing to get off of state-owned businesses, to privatize their state-owned businesses. And that goes with a number of these green areas, along with other, oil and gas and other kinds of things like that is going on. So this is a unique opportunity, I think, for a moment for us all to be in Egypt, for you guys to present your wares and what America can do. God, I learned something in this phone call. And we're pushing very hard, for them to tell us what they need, to tell us what the projects that are available to finance that might be of interest. And there's a lot of projects. There will be mention of projects that are not necessarily green tech, but the areas that we've identified so far are green energy development, obviously hydrogen and other kinds of things like that, electric vehicles, EVs, desalination and irrigation projects that are vital to Italy's to Egypt's future, and agricultural innovation. And these are they aren't the only ones, but certainly in the green area, these are the areas that are very important to that they're really focusing on. And I think that all of your the financing ideas that you're bringing to bear are ones that will be very helpful for them once they understand them, and you can actually work with the counterparts in Egypt they'll be, they're learning how to do this kind of stuff. And I think that it will be a great opportunity to be able to interact with you on this mission. And I would just want to mention one thing about Rani Al-Mashat, who's the development, international cooperation minister. She's trained in MDBs and works with the World Bank. I knew her a number of years ago. She's now become the Minister of International Cooperation, and I know her main interlocutor is USAID, but she really is going to be, I think, essential to development finance, working with our organizations and things like that as we go forward. It's a unique moment, guys, and I think it will be a time well spent to come on this trip, and that's my piece. Thanks.
Well, Ambassador, thank you very much, for sharing that, and we couldn't agree more, and we really appreciate you and your team and all of the effort that's going not only into this upcoming delegation, but everything between now and November and beyond. So we're grateful for the collaboration. I'd mentioned what really excites us at the Chamber is that we have, and I see I'm going to get myself in trouble. We have old friends and companies that have been doing business and working in Egypt for a long time, like Justin at Bechtel. I see Khaled from Honeywell, but then we also have some new companies that are coming to the table. And I saw Dan from Astra Energy and Mustafa and Subash from Sujin International. So what I think is exciting about this delegation is the blend of those that have a lot of experience and have been doing a lot of things in Egypt, as well as some companies that would be coming into this market for the first time. So that's very exciting. And if you're in either bucket, we would encourage you to sign up and be a part of the delegation. But with the remaining time we have, we'd love to open it up for any questions from any of our speakers. If you have anything in general you want to ask, or we can always make connections offline if you have more specific questions, with respect to what your company's intentions are. But I'll open it up. Feel free to use the raise your hand or just come off mute, and do be sure to identify yourself. Do we have any comments, questions for our speakers from DFC, EXIM, USTDA, or USAID? Well, you all covered a lot of ground. So what I am going to, if I may, Hisham, you beat me to it. I was going to put you on the spot, but you offered up with your hand. So we'll turn to Hisham Fahmy, President CEO of AmChem Egypt Inc. Hisham.
Hi, thank you. This has been really, really interesting, and I appreciate all the people who have spoken today. And I think it throws a light on what U.S. government agencies can do for Egypt and for COP27. I have one question for EXIM, talking about the China matching program. If you could expand on that. China's very aggressive in trying to do stuff in Egypt, and I'd really be interested in how we can, stop them.
No, absolutely. No, it's a great question. We're finding this to be the case actually in multiple locations around the world where China is very actively seeking to build projects in the energy space and the power space particularly. Our program is designed to kind of supplant and take on China firsthand. So if we become aware of a project that the Chinese are sponsoring or providing financing to, and the sponsor is able to, or the borrower is able to show to us what those terms and conditions are, we can take those terms and conditions and either match them or do better. We have a program, we have a fully staffed program that is involved in evaluating any of those types of requests. What that means is that we could do better terms. We might be able to offer lower interest rates. We might have flexibility on exposure fees. We might be able to, consider longer tenors. So there's different flexibilities that we can offer under this program in order to win the business. And, I think from that perspective, we want to be able to offer financing that is does better than the Chinese. But again, one of the things that we do need to see is the actual, offer. There are cases though where we know we can't get the offer, and there are specific cases where that's very hard to get. Especially that we've find that to be the case in the nuclear space, and we're aware that the Chinese are very involved, and so that from that in itself is enough for us to be able to offer terms that are very competitive. So I'd be happy to connect you with our China and Transformational Exports team if you'd like, or anyone who has questions on this. I would be happy to make those connections. But it is a very exciting program that we have.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It is very interesting work, and thank you for that. I see Justin from Bechtel with a hand up. Justin, and then Carl maybe has a comment, so we'll come to Justin and then Carl.
Yeah, thanks very much, Steve, and thanks to all of the speakers. Very interesting briefs, and I would also echo the request to distribute the slides or make slides available to the extent that you're prepared to do that. I'd like to look at those a bit more deeply, and I look forward to speaking with some of you on the trade delegation, which I plan to join myself. My question is around and sort of a construct that seemed to come out of the last administration, the deal team idea, where U.S. government agencies came together around specific projects and deals in consultation with companies that were trying to put together deals. And these deal teams were sort of built around embassy country teams, I believe, and were often very helpful because you had all the different agencies of U.S. government kind of contributing their ideas on how to bring a deal across the line. I just have a question: is that something that is also still is that construct still out there? And if so, how do the Washington-based agencies like yours that don't necessarily have representatives in those embassies, how do you tie into that? And I realize I'm asking kind of a long question right toward the end of the event here, but something that was on my mind, because very helpful presentations, but curious about that. Thank you.
I can answer for TDA, and I'll start with just the comment I was just about to make to key off of the China question of just that for TDA also can be a resource, particularly where there is head-to-head competition for a particular deal, working with the Commerce Department's Advocacy Center. So if you have if there's a procurement, a large procurement or reasonably sized procurement that you're going after, and you're seeing competition from any country, but primarily or especially from China, that's something that bring to our attention, and we can take a look and see if there's some way that we can be helpful on that, because we do know that the playing field is not particularly level at that point. But in terms of the deal teams, Justin, those are continuing. And TDA, we do have staff in the field in various regions. I don't have any in my region, but my country manager, Gretchen Krantz-Evans, is on the call here. She is in contact with our colleagues in those deal teams. There are calls periodically, but trying to keep everybody up to date. So they are still in action, and we do engage.
Great question, Ambassador Silberol, and Carl, thank you for sharing those insights. And I know, we've before had some folks from in our last session from U.S. Embassy Cairo, and people from Commerce here in Washington. So we can just, if you have a specific thing in mind, we're glad to take that up. And I see Leslie, you have your.
I think Leslie wants to answer the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that going, sort of from the theoretical to the practical. I mean, I think here in Egypt, as you mentioned, Steve, the econ officer, the Foreign Commercial Service, USAID, we have a very active economic working group. Our previous ambassador won an award for promoting bilateral trade. This is a country team that is not just giving this lip service, but is actually pulling deals across the finish line. So I would encourage you to reach out to any one of us, because we'll pull the others in. And we look forward to seeing you here, so that you'll see that teamwork in action.
Yeah, and kudos, to you, Leslie, and all of your colleagues at the U.S. Embassy Cairo, because that is absolutely true. That it is very much a collaborative effort, and we've always greatly valued and appreciated that, be it Ambassador Cohen or the entire team, and you're all swimming in the same direction, so we very much appreciate that. Any other final comments or questions for our speakers? If not, we definitely, I think, want to follow up, get those slides, and then really look forward, to having your organizations represented on the delegation, and just this broader effort going forward. And again, to any companies, sometimes we know you may have more company-specific questions. So if you have those and you'd like us to facilitate an introduction to any of our speakers and their organizations, don't hesitate to reach out to Anna and myself, and we're glad to make those tie-ups in advance of the delegation. Seeing no hands, I guess let me just do one quick run through. Jake, Dan, Carl, Leslie, for any final thoughts before we peel away here. Coming back in that order. Jake, back to you, and then Dan for any final concluding thoughts.
Thanks, Steve. Nothing really. I mean, this was very educational for me as well. And to Justin's point on the sort of the deal team aspect, to the extent that we can be teamed up at various pieces of a transaction with our colleagues around the interagency, that's something that we would really welcome the opportunity to do. And I will share the deck. If there's any other information that we can provide, please let me know. And if you all have information that would be helpful for us to consider and review ahead of the trip, please don't hesitate to share that. We'd love to do as much prep and reading and getting smart ahead of time. So appreciate it, and thanks again, Steve.
Thank you.
Great. And
Dan?
Yeah, just the final thoughts are, we're very excited to be a part of this trade delegation. This is very, very exciting opportunity for EXIM Bank. It's a perfect time for us to, be a part of this delegation to focus our financing, our financing products on many of the different types of projects that could potentially be built in Egypt over the coming years. And from our perspective here at EXIM, we have a TL team mostly based here in Washington, but we work with embassies, we work with different groups, and if there are possibilities and opportunities to bring those deals to the staff in Washington at EXIM Bank, we're more than happy to sit down with folks at any time to kind of explore those opportunities further. So we look forward to this opportunity. We have a ton of financing authority available for clean tech exports, and we do hope that we are able to identify and finance multiple deals to meet Egypt's climate goals. Thank you.
And Carl and Leslie.
Sure. Just, yeah, thanks again for hosting this. Looking forward to it. Again, I would just say, our whole purpose is to find those deals that that the U.S. companies see as opportunities. And likewise, happy to discuss in advance, myself or Gretchen Krantz-Evans, or if you're in Cairo and you're talking to our colleagues at the Commerce Department there at the embassy, they're also great to have the initial conversations with. But really for us, it's just starting with a conversation, not any kind of complicated applications or anything like that. Is let's just talk if you see some opportunity. So looking forward to that either here or in advance or actually on the trip.
Thank you, Carl. And Leslie.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I would just say I think this is an area where the United States has a comparative advantage. And as Ambassador Thorne said, there's a real opportunity here in Egypt, a real opening that we haven't seen before, and we should really just drive a truck through this opening, because it can make a huge difference, not only for Egypt, but for the continent, as Ambassador Thorne said. So I'm really excited that you're all coming. I look forward to seeing you, and we look forward to helping to identify where the areas are, where the roadblocks are, and seeing if we can't help unstick that stuff for us going forward. So look forward to it. Bye.
Well, Leslie, thank you, and thanks to all of our speakers. And we'll drive a truck as long as it's an electric truck, right? No, but you're absolutely right. It's definitely something to lean into. And what really I think is compelling is that this is a really pristine example of the government and the private sector coming together to really make a tangible impact and as you said, Liz, have that U.S. leadership from both sides of the coin in a very cooperative manner come together on a really important issue. And hey, let's have our member companies do some business and make some money out of this as well. So there's a lot of great objectives, and I think it's a super opportunity. And we really, on behalf of the Chamber and our friends at AmCham, I know we're really excited about this and look forward to this trip, and then of course a series of other activities that will lead up to November and COP27, and then also keeping an eye for what happens beyond that as well, because it doesn't end come November. So thank you to all of our speakers, to all of our friends in the U.S. government that are helping bring this Green Tech delegation together. And we look forward to seeing you all in Cairo, and feel free to reach out to Anna or myself if you're not signed up, or again, if you'd like to get in touch with any of our speakers. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. That concludes our session.
Steve.
Thanks, everyone. See you in
Thank you.
Cairo.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.